And we're back to another episode of Let's Play Lost Odyssey. I'm your host, the RPG Guy. And let's keep moving because we've got so much work to do. As we are going to get another thingy here. I forget where specifically. Is it this dude? It's one of these fools. Could have sworn it was. We'll come back. Might have to do these stories in order. So we're doing more of the 1,000 Year of Dreams. Just as a heads up for anybody wondering. I want to try to knock as many out as possible. Kaim recalls a memory that was locked deep in his heart. You don't say. A dream has been revealed. Dun dun dun.
The waterfall lies deep in the forest. More than a day's travel from the nearest village, it is said to be a holy place. In search of the divine amid the towering peaks, pilgrims stand beneath the plunging falls and their final ascetic practice. The water of the falls is freezing cold, and it takes a momentary lapse of concentration when the person is hammered down by the rushing water. Stones of Heaven. The pilgrims call this waterfall the Stones of Heaven. Heaven is testing their mental and physical strength, they say, by hurling an endless stream of stones down upon them, in the form of the powerful waterfall. And the stones have a mysterious power. A former pilgrim says to Kaim with a pained smile, he himself failed in this final austerity, he adds. Different stones of heaven fall on each person. It's as if they can see into your heart. What do you mean, Kaim asks. The burdens you bore and the dreams you dreamt in the secular world appear to you one after another. In his own case, he says, what comes to him first were the voices of women. The water plunging down into the basin of the falls began to sound like women's voices. Sweet voices whispering in my ear. Voices sobbing, voices moaning in a lover's embrace. In incredible variety. And far better or worse, I knew every single one of them. Some I was thrilled to hear again, while others I hated remembering. Meaning, you've gotten yourself into a lot of trouble involving women. I have indeed. Not to boast or anything, but that was one battlefield I knew better than anybody. I survived, but I made a lot of women cry. And there were a lot of them I loved. My whole purpose in undertaking the austerities was to put that life behind me. But the stones of heaven know what they're doing. In the final test, they go after your greatest weakness. If you waver the slightest bit, you've had it. The water slams you down, and the austerities are over. The man feeds a stick of kindling into the campfire. And I'm the only one, he continues. One fellow heard the voice of his mother he hadn't seen since he was a little boy. Another heard the voice of his dead child. It's always voices? I wish it were. If you were holed up through the voices, the waterfall's mist starts changing into the shapes of people. You might see someone who you hated so much in the secular world that you wanted to kill him. Or it might be some loan shark you had to go into hiding to get away from. One little flinch and you're done for. This particular austerity can be performed only once. There are no second chances. Someone who has persevered for a whole day and night, but who fails in the end, has no choice but to return to the secular world in defeat, as this man did. Not that it was easy for me to get on my feet again, and once I was back there either. The man chuckles and calls out to a young pilgrim, or more precisely, to a young man who was a pilgrim until a few moments ago, but who has just now dragged himself up to the lip of the basin in utter dejection. Hey, young fellow, the campfire's over here. You've got liquor to warm up your insides and some fresh grilled meat. Get a little of that in your stomach and you'll have the strength to make it down to the village. The man now makes his living as master of the tea house by the waterfall. Of course, pilgrims undergoing austerities carry no money with them, but the man does not expecting to become rich doing this work. For bodies chilled by long hours of pounding under the waterfall, he provides a warming fire, food and drink, sometimes even money to tide them over when they first go down to the village. Payment can be made at any time. The men can bring him the money after they've started to take in earnings again from jobs they find in the secular world. He sets no date for repayment. He takes no IOUs. He says he's fine with that. Are there some who don't pay at all? Kaim asks. Of course there are, the man says matter-of-factly. But I think of my running this tea house as another kind of discipline for myself. Another kind of discipline? That's right, the stones of heaven will accept only the strongest pilgrims, the ones unperturbed by anything. The role I want to play is to accept the ones who were broken by the stones of heaven, the weak human beings. I want to go on accepting the weakest of the weak, the kind who not only succumb to the stones of heaven, but who even fail to pay for their food and drink afterwards. That is your kind of discipline? Exactly. It makes for a hard living, that's for sure. Thought I was prepared to deal with cheats and weaklings. There are a lot more of those than I ever bargained for, he declares with a hearty laugh. Then he quickly turns serious and says, to tell you the truth, I think of this less as a form of discipline than as a way to get even. Get even with whom? With those gods or whatever they are that kept hurling down their stones of heaven. Human beings are weak, shockingly so, in the eyes of a god. But I think, and this is not just because of what happened to me, that being weak is the best thing about human beings. Weakness can make us cunning, but it can also make us kind. Weakness can torment us, but it can just as easily be our salvation. Don't you see? If the gods are hurling down their stones of heaven just to make people aware of their own weakness, just to make us savor our own powerlessness, then I'd just as soon drop my trousers and moon them. I'll slap my bare butt and say to them, I'm not like you. I'm not going to punish human beings for being weak. I accept them for what they are, weakness and all. The man feeds a new piece of kindling to the fire and says with a shy shrug, I guess I got carried away. Kaim smiles and shakes his head as if to say, not at all. Tell me, though, the man goes on. I see you're a traveller, but you don't seem to be a pilgrim. You're right, I'm not, Kaim says. I was trying to cross over the pass and I took the wrong road. Well then, as long as you're here, why not give the stones of heaven a try? It'll be something to talk about. No thanks, Kaim says, smiling. What's the matter? Afraid they're going to show you whatever it is that shakes you up? The man smiles and nods. Can't say I blame you, though. The man is mistaken about Kaim. He is not the least bit afraid of such a thing. What scares him is the opposite prospect, that of not being shaken up, encountering in himself a person unmoved by anything at all. Anyway, it would be suicide to jump into the waterfall without preparation. How's that? The freezing cold, for one thing. There's even colder water bubbling up from the spring in the basin. Even the most well-conditioned person has to be careful and take time to accustom himself to the low temperature. If you go in all at once, it can stop your heart. The man jerks his chin in the direction of the falls as if to say, "Look at them." Two new pilgrims are preparing themselves for the challenge of the stones of heaven. The men appear to be brothers. The older one kneels at the edge of the basin, splashing himself and massaging the cold water onto his skin from foot to heart level. The younger brother, is too impatient for that. He wants to jump right under the falls. The older brother cautions him and takes all the time he needs to accustom himself to the water's coldness. He exudes the quiet power of one who has withstood the most rigorous training. "Aha!" the treehouse owner says to Kaim, smiling. "We're in for a rare privilege. I think we're about to see the first successful attempt in a long while." "You can tell?" Kaim asks. "You can if you've spent as much time here as I have. The winners and losers all decide before the men ever step under the falls." Having completed his meticulous preparations, the elder brother enters the basin. Even then, the steps he takes are slow and cautious. The younger brother follows in, kicking up a spray with every step. "The younger one is hopeless," says the man with a sigh, adding another stick of kindling to the fire. "I'd better get the liquor ready now," he mutters to himself. The brothers stand side by side beneath the pounding waterfall. The stones of heaven rain down upon them. As the man predicted, the elder brother, utterly calm, stands up to the onslaught of images sent by the stones of heaven. Also, as the man predicted, the younger brother yields to the stones of heaven and is beaten down into the basin of the waterfall. But then something happens that goes far beyond what the man predicted. Writhing in agony, the younger brother bobs helplessly in the basin, unable to raise himself. He is drowning, his tears at his own chest, his heart is failing. He was not fully prepared to enter the icy water. "Help me, brother, please! Please!" The elder brother doesn't move. He remains under the waterfall in total concentration. "Hey, what are you doing there? Hurry up and help him," the man yells, but the eldest brother's expression remains unchanged. He never flinches. "He's drowning. You just can't leave him like that. He'll die." The elder brother never moves. He grits his teeth, keeps his eyes clamped shut, and shows no sign of moving out from under the waterfall, as if to declare, "This is it. This is the final test of the stones of heaven." The man screams at him, "You idiot," and dives into the rolling basin in a rash effort to help the younger brother. For a moment his untrained body hits the frigid water. The shock of it seizes his heart. Still, he reaches out towards the drowning brother who is sinking beneath the surface. A great shudder goes through him, and with an enormous groan he takes hold of the young man's wrist and pulls his limp body towards him. He tries to return to shore, but his strength gives out, and he falls back into the water. Next is Kaim's turn to dive into the basin beneath the falls. He takes hold of the two unconscious men and drags them towards the shore. The stones of heaven pour down on Kaim as he is assaulted by one vision after another. Battlefields, scenes from his wandering, shooting stars, the climbing and sinking sun, raging winds, and countless deaths of those who had come to know on the road of his all-too-long life. "It will do you no good," he silently declares to the gods hurling the stones of heaven at him. "My heart remains unmoved. I've lived through a reality far crueler than any phantom you can show me. Whether or not his life is a sign of the strength he does not know, he will not boast of it, nor will he tell the tale to the others. He has, however, lived it, that much is certain. He has lived it through the years." Kaim climbs onto the shore and lays the limp bodies of the tea-house master and the younger brother beside the fire. As he warms himself, he thinks the gods who hurl the stones of heaven are inferior gods. If they could truly see into everything, they would never have been foolish enough to show Kaim scenes from his past. For what would disturb him most of all would be the unwelcome sight of moments from his own limitless future. And if they were to ask him one simple question, for what purpose were you born? His knees would buckle at an instant. The first to regain consciousness is the young pilgrim. The tea house master's condition is critical. Kaim attempts to warm him and massage his clenched heart. Have little effect. Pull yourself together now. Look, we've got a fire here. The fire you built. Let it warm you. Kaim shouts into his ear until the man finally manages to force an eye open and crack and move his purple lips. Is he all right? Sure, he's fine. Don't worry. Oh, good. Pull yourself together, man. Tell me, though, is strength the same as coldness? Never mind. Stop talking. Because if that is true, if strength is coldness, I don't want any part of it. The man gives Kaim a faint smile and closes his eyes. He will never open them again. Human beings are weak and fragile. All it takes for a person to die is for a fist-sized organ to stop beating. Human kindness, on the other hand, may derive from everyone's profound awareness of the fragility of life. Facing the tea-house master's lifeless corpse, the younger brother hangs his head and cries. This weak man, defeated by the stones of heaven, sheds heartfelt tears for the man who saved his life. His strong elder brother, meanwhile, is still being pounded by the waterfall, unfazed by the stones of heaven. Surely his strength will be recognized by the gods, and he will bring his ascetic training to perfect completion. Still, Kaim finds the tear-stained face of the younger brother beautiful in a way the stronger elder brothers can never be, and he wishes that he himself could be moved like the younger man. There was an unmatched nobility in the last smile of the tea-house master who gave up his life to save that of a complete stranger. Kaim wishes that he, too, could experience such feelings. And what of my own face? Living through 1,000 years of life is not strength. Yet burdened with a life he cannot lose, will Kaim ever be able to change weakness into kindness? This he cannot tell. He can only live unknowing. He can only walk on. He can only continue his journey. Kaim looks at his reflection in the basin of the waterfall. On the water's heaving surface, he sees the trembling face of a lonely wanderer.
So, that's interesting, in a way. You gotta be prepared. You can't just rush into things. If you don't die, you could cause other people to die. Okay, so yeah, you'll notice after we did that story, there's a new person sitting on a bed here. So there is a specific order to these, which is kind of annoying, which is why I came in here and I'm like, wait a minute, that person's not here. Maybe I mistook, and then, of course, you have to do it in this very certain way. Ow, it hurts. Mom said it'd get better if I take my medicine, but it still hurts. As we get another one. Oh, boy. As we get another dream.
Signpost. I'll be gone soon, Henri says.
Hey, Henri, I forget of that. They use that name in this. Henri from Shining Force.
So it makes no difference a life like this.
Now that's going to bug me. I'm going to think that the whole time.
She smiles with some effort, puts a grey tablet on her tongue, and swallows it. Use or possession of this drug by ordinary people is prohibited by law and strictly controlled. The person taking it feels as if every bone in his or her body is melting. All the anxieties and cares of life vanish, and the individual wanders in the space between languor and pleasure. Why don't you take one too? Henri pulls another tablet from a leather pouch and holds it out to Kaim, who's standing by her bed. Coward, she says with a grim smile when she shakes his head in silence, and then she places the second tablet on her tongue. How many pills does that make today? Kaim asks. I forget. With empty eyes, Henri stares into space and sighs. This is an addiction. A serious one. How do you feel? He asks. Not bad, she says. Very happy. She gives him a smile that is deeper and softer than her earlier smile, even maybe too deep and too soft. It appears to be the smile of ultimate bliss, but for that very reason it also has a frightening quality that sends chills up his spine. The drug is called Signpost. This is not its formal designation, of course. People started calling it that as a secret code word to avoid prosecution, and the term caught on. Signpost is, however, the single most appropriate name for this drug. Each pill takes the user one step further down the road, and when withdrawal symptoms strike, the person rushes to take the next pill, thereby advancing yet another step. Farther and farther and farther. The road marked by this signpost is a soothing one, entirely free of pain or suffering. At the end of the road, however, there waits only death. The use and possession of signposts is so strictly prohibited because it is seen as an invitation to gradual suicide. How many more pills, I wonder? Henri mutters, stretching her emaciated body full length on the bed. It is a question that Kaim cannot answer. He knows only that she is nearing the end of her signpost journey. It is for this that Kaim has been called to this hospital. It is a facility for people on the verge of death. I have no regrets, Henri says. None at all. This way I can die pleasantly, quietly, like going to sleep. Her empty eyes are fixed on Kaim, but they seem to register nothing. I'll be fine. She reaches into the leather pouch again. You probably shouldn't do that, Kaim says. I'm telling you I'm fine, she says, laughing weakly, and placing a third signpost in her mouth. She closes her eyes. Her sunken eye sockets harbor dark shadows. Kaim settles himself into the chair by her bed. He waits for her to say more, but she seems to have fallen asleep. Her breathing is calm, and a slight smile plays upon her sleeping face. The signpost seems to be working. Without the drug, hammer-like pains in her back and violent chills would prevent her from sleeping. Even worse than the physical suffering would be the fear of approaching death. More a girl than a woman, young Henri was struck by mortal illness. At the end of her long battle with the disease, the doctor gave up hope of treating it and prescribed signposts for her instead. Ordinary people are not allowed to use the drug, but special permission has been given to patients for whom there is no hope of recovery in order to afford them a peaceful death and bring their lives to a quiet close. In other words, to enable them to die without having to deal with regret or despair. Before Kaim begins this work, a doctor explained the effects of the medicine to him, concluding with a smile. In other words, signpost forgives all the debts the person has built up towards life. Henri awakens. After she has confirmed Kaim's presence at her bedside, she says, "You don't have to worry," and closes her eyes again, smiling. "I'm fine. I think I can go just like this." So she knows there are other possibilities. In certain rare cases, signposts can have undesirable side effects. Sometimes at the very end, when the person is just beginning to slide into the abyss of their death, there can be an attack of nightmares. The patient experiences a literal death agony. Even though signpost has provided such a wonderful, tranquil departure on the person's final journey, every last bit of tranquility can be swept away on the cusp of death. Worse still, some patients conclude their hallucinatory episode with a frenzied physical outburst. They might have barely enough strength to breathe until, tormented by the nightmares, they lash out violently enough to break the bed or even strangle their caregiver in attendance. Such can be the mysteries of the human body, or most so, the human heart. This is why Kaim is here. He is to stand vigil by Henri's deathbed against the remote possibility that she might be tormented by nightmares and go wild under the influence of signpost side effects. The doctor has supplied him with yet another drug. It is a poison that will kill the patient instantaneously. Kaim has been instructed to administer it to Henri as soon as she begins to exhibit strange behavior. Believe me, this is a humane measure, the doctor said. Not murder by any means. The face of the patient who has suffered the drug side effects is truly grotesque. Not something that anyone could stand to look at. A person's death should never be that excruciating. This is a final kindness to give the person a quiet, peaceful ending. Kaim was not entirely convinced by the doctor's rationale. Neither, however, was he able to bring himself to take issue with it. Now he can only hope that, led by her signpost, Henri will be able to pass her final moments in peace. Some part of her inner self might be paralyzed at the moment, and her empty eyes might never regain their former gleam. But if she is happy that way, it is nothing that anyone has the right to deny her. Waking again, Henri reaches for another signpost, but drops the leather pouch. "Sorry, but would you pick it up for me?" she asked Kaim. She no longer has the strength even to hold the pouch. Her final moments are closing in. Kaim lifts the pouch from the floor, but when she asks him to put the tablet in her mouth, he hesitates for a moment before complying. Her tongue is dry and rough as sandpaper. She really must be nearing the end. Having taken another signpost, Henri seems to be overtaken by the languorous feeling again. She moves the flesh of her cheeks in a way that has no meaning, releases a feeble sigh and says, "I was just dreaming." "About what?" "About when I was little. Everybody was there. My father, my mother, my big brother and sister, all smiling. This is not a good sign. The drug might be having a bad effect. If the signpost is working properly, she should not be dreaming, especially about her family. The more lingering attachment or regret or sadness a person retains, the more likely he or she is to experience the side effects. This is precisely why the family is never admitted to the patient's room. The final farewells are made before the administering of signpost, and only after everything is finished do they meet again. Everybody was in such a good mood. Kaim wonders if he should give her another signpost. I'm sure when I was born that my parents never imagined I would die so young. A more seasoned caregiver would probably give her another pill without hesitation. Then Henri would fall into another peaceful sleep without any thoughts to disturb her, perhaps never to wake again. Kaim, however, sets the leather pouch on a shelf and waits to hear what else she has to say. Henri herself does not request another signpost, but moves the sunken flesh of her cheeks again. This time the movement takes the form of a deliberate smile. "You know," she says to Kaim, "I'm beginning to wonder." "About what?" "Why I was ever born." Kaim is at a loss for words, but she does not let this prevent her from continuing. "I mean, if I'm going to die so young, when I've never had the chance to fall in love, wouldn't it have been better if I had never been born at all?" Kaim nods as if to tell her that he understands. Why was I ever born? This is a question that Kaim himself has been pondering all through his endless journey. He's still not found the answer, and maybe never will. My mother and father will be sad, I'm sure. We'd better rest now. Maybe I was born to make my parents sad. Close your eyes and take a few long, deep breaths. Can I have some more medicine? This time he gives it to her without hesitation. Thank you, she says simply for the first time, and closes her eyes. I guess it's possible I might never wake up again. It's possible. It's a good thing to die without suffering, isn't it? It probably is. And to die without your head in a fog without thinking or feeling anything. That's a good thing too, isn't it? Kaim says nothing. This is a question he cannot answer. A question he doesn't want to answer. Henri falls asleep without asking him anything else. She's still sound asleep when the doctor examines her and tells Kaim she'll probably pass away before the night is out. It is late that night, close to dawn, when Henri begins to suffer. I'm sorry, Mummy, I'm sorry I ate the jam. It was me. She's riding a high fever with large drops of sweat on her forehead as she moans deliriously. What is taking you so long, Daddy? Hurry, hurry, the butterfly's going to fly away. Kaim wonders if she could be reliving memories of her early childhood. You hit me. Big brothers shouldn't hit their little sisters. You're bad. I'm gonna tell Mommy. Convulsions rack her entire body. Let me in. I want to play with the big girls. It doesn't end with her delirium. She starts moving her arms as if trying to embrace family members floating above her. This is what they were afraid of. The side effects. Take me with you, please. I don't want to stay here. Don't leave me. Her cries mingled with tears. Hallucinations seemed to have taken the place of past memories in her empty eyes. It's hard to do this voice as long as I've been doing it. Please, that'll be good. I'll do whatever you tell me, Mummy and Daddy. Take me with you. In fact, just the opposite is happening. The ones being left behind are the family who so loved their youngest daughter, Henri. Don't leave me alone, Mommy, Daddy. Come back, please. You can feel her pain and sorrow. Her convulsions become increasingly violent. Her face contorts in agony. Alerted by the commotion, a doctor comes charging into the room. What are you doing? He shouts at Kaim. Put her out of her misery now. Kaim knows what he should do. This is what he was hired for. The poison will prevent Henri from suffering any more and is within easy reach. What he takes hold of softly, however, is not the poison, but the hand that Henri stretched out into empty space. What are you doing? The doctor shouts at him. Stop it. This is in direct violation of your duties. You're fired. Kaim turns towards the fuming doctor and says simply, Be quiet, please. What the hell are you? But the doctor breaks off his shouting when he catches sight of the look on Henri's face. She is smiling. Are these my mother's hands, my father's, big brothers, big sisters? Tell me whose hands these are, she asked joyfully. Feeling the strength of Kaim's grasp, she squeezed back, an almost indescribably happy smile on her face, tears streaming from her eyes. I'm here with you, all of you, together, always. Her convulsions have subsided and her breathing has calmed down. Kaim whispers in her ear, Thank you, Henri. Daddy? Smiling through her tears, she says, I know it's you. Kaim smiles back at her and says, speaking for all of us, for me, your mother, your brother, your sister, when I say thank you, Henri. Henri seems almost embarrassed when she asks, For what? For having been born, Henri. For having to come to be with us. For having allowed us to share time with you. Mummy and I and brother and sister were all so grateful to you for that. Unfortunately, life has its limits. There are long lives and short lives, and in life, even more unfortunately, there is happiness and unhappiness. There are happy lives and unhappy lives. For all of this, however, for the chance to be alive in the world, for the chance of having lived life in this world, the only thing to say is, thank you. When Kaim says to her, Henri gives her slender chin a little shake and says, no, I should be the one thanking you. All of you. These are Henri's last words. The look on her face and death following the torment of the drug-induced nightmares is neither tranquil nor peaceful. It is, however, happy. Are you really leaving us? The doctor asks Kaim with a genuine show of regret. Dressed for the road, Kaim smiles and says, I don't think I'll ever be able to perform the duties of a caregiver properly. To tell you the truth, Kaim, I still can't get over the fact that it's even possible to do it your way. With a serious look, he adds, I wonder if your hands give off some substance like signpost. Otherwise, I can't imagine how she could have died so happily. Kaim turns his palms upward, turns his palm toward the doctor. They're just ordinary hands, nothing special. Not so sure about that, the doctor says. If we spent some time studying them properly, maybe. Kaim shakes his head with a sour smile as if to say he wouldn't find a thing. He does have one point to make with the doctor. I've seen lots of people die alone, probably a lot more than any of you doctors have. That's why I wanted to bring her together with her family at the end. That's the reason I took her hands. The doctor's vague nod suggests that he is not convinced, but Kaim is through talking with him. He strides off towards the highway. He must continue his journey. His journey will go on as long as he is unable to reply to Henri's question. Why was I ever born? Henri had a family, at least. Her life consisted of her joining and leaving her family. Kaim has not even had that much. Where did I come from? Where am I going? Why does the passing wind draw Kaim along on his endless journey? A journey without signposts. This is why Kaim is always free and always alone.
Whew, another one down. Oh boy. And we get treasure hunt information deep in the memory, and we will deal with that a little bit later. Oh. And to think there's one more I want to try to knock out before we get too far. We'll see. But we'll see. It's a lot, it's a lot of stuff. I don't want formation, I want... Yes. So we're starting to get these filled in, aren't we? We still got a lot more work to sort out before too long here. Alright, let's go ahead and head to Gotza rather than the refugee camp. Because there's stuff we can actually do there. Amongst other things. Let's go to here. As we realize that Gotza is completely frozen, right? Among other things. Now, as you can see, that's what it looks like now. So, yep. Let's keep heading down these ladders here, because it will be apparent that most, if not everybody who survived, was in Lowtown at the time. one of these people, I forget who specifically, gives... another thing that I think it's this guy. Somebody down here gives us treasure info, and I believe it's this guy. For one reason or another, life may be comfortable here, but I bet it'd be a lot better if things would just settle down for a change. Speaking of which, Mara is one good example of what I'm talking about. But even a peaceful nation like that was a host to a band of pirates along the shores long ago. It's been said that they hide out in a seaside cavern. They were eventually caught, of course, but supposedly their treasure is still yet to be discovered. And there it is. And we get a treasure for a dungeon we haven't been to yet, right? But that is what's important. Let's go ahead and keep moving. Do. Alright, so there's a few things we can do here. Yay. As we'll move up and we'll knock this out while we're here. Oh, another one! Are you alright? Do you feel any pain? I'm fine. It's just a cold. I'll be okay with some rest. Stop worrying about me. Kaim recalls a memory that was locked deep within his heart. A dream has been revealed. Here we go, guys. At least the last one for this episode. And for a little while. I think there's another one that we'll do in the next episode, but it'll only be one or at the most. And actually, that depends on how long it takes to get through the other stuff. Oh, I should be reading.
The raking of lives. A terrible epidemic is ravaging the kingdom. The onset of the disease is sudden due to genetic or perhaps hormonal factors. It strikes only males. The victim experiences a high fever, a violent headache, and often a swift death. The disease does have two hopeful aspects. First of all, once an individual survives it, he need not fear catching it again. From then on, he has immunity. Secondly, an extremely effective medicine exists. If used preventively or in the initial stages of the disease, the drug, a tablet made primarily from a plant that grows in the mountains, almost always results in a cure. Does this mean people can relax, and that there is no need to worry? Unfortunately not, for an ironic twist of fate is something that life tends to thrust upon people all too often. The high-altitude plant used to make the medicine is so effective in prevention, an early cure is extremely rare, verging on extinction. In other words, there is not enough medicine for all the kingdom's subjects, only for certain people. Do you see what I mean? Asked Doc, a quiet man on patrol in the capital's marketplace with his fellow military policeman Kaim. Sending his sharp gaze down one alley after another, Kaim responds, "You're saying they rank people to decide who gets the medicine?" "Exactly," says Doc. "In deciding the rank order, they brand us as either subjects indispensable to the nation or other subjects. Capital military policemen will receive their medicine relatively early, which demonstrates their ranking as subjects indispensable to the nation. I guess it makes sense," Doc goes on. "If all of us were to keel over, order in the capital would break down like nothing. We always have to be the picture of health as we patrol the city, right, Kaim? For the sake of the homeland, as they say." "I suppose so. First the royal family gets the medicine, then the royal guards. Third come the politicians, and then the financiers who run the country's economy. The people and the firemen, doctors, and finally us, the capital military police. There's not enough to give to just anybody." Doc all but spits out those final words as he asks, What do you think, Kaim? Ordinary subjects are people too. Is it okay to rank them like that? In theory, Kaim should be able to reply without hesitation. And of course, it is not okay. But, realistically speaking, he says there's no way around it. He averts his gaze from Dox as he hears himself saying these words. No way around it, huh? He mutters with obvious distaste. Maybe you're right. Maybe there is no way around it. He sounds as if he's trying to convince himself. In fact, it does seem to be the only means open to them. The folks here in the marketplace know about the disease. Obviously. Obviously, answers Doc. If their fears get the better of them, they could riot at any time. Absolutely. We can just manage to keep the peace by patrolling the streets like this. I know what you mean. If we were to succumb to the disease, their lives would be put all the more at risk. If we can't dose every subject in the kingdom, all we can do is think about how best to keep the harm or the impact of the disease to an absolute minimum. I couldn't have said it better myself. You get a perfect score. Good job. His words of praise carry obvious barbs. Sensing their presence, Kaim for silent. Underlying Doc's sharp comment is not only the pain and biting sarcasm, but the sorrow of helplessness. Two children, a boy and a younger girl, run past the men laughing. Dressed in rags, they have probably come from the slum behind the market to gather scraps of vegetables, little better than garbage. Doc points to their receding forms and says, I'd like to ask you a question, Kaim. All right. Are those kids' subjects indispensable to the nation? Kaim has no answer for them because he knows the right answer all too well. He can only lapse into silence. Responding to Kaim's silence with a bitter smile, Doc goes on. According to your logic, Kaim, if those kids all fall sick and die, there's no way around it. At least capital police like us have a greater right to the medicine than those kids do. Am I right, Kaim? Is that what you're saying? Kaim could hardly declare that he was wrong. Responding again to Kaim's silence, Doc says, Now don't misunderstand me. I'm not attacking you. It's just that everybody is indispensable to somebody. Even those kids. They may be just a nuisance to the state, poor beggars, but to their parents they are indispensable lives that must be protected at all costs. Am I wrong? What a kind-hearted fellow, Kaim thinks. Maybe too kind, to a degree that could prove fatal for a soldier. From the direction of the castle comes the sound of the great bell. An emergency assembly signal to the soldiers patrolling the streets. The medicine seems to have arrived for them. Let's head back, Doc pipes up, apparently emerging from his gloom. Let's be good boys and take the miraculous medicine that's going to save our lives and protect the kingdom. The sorrow-filled thorns sprouting from his words pierce Kaim through the heart. It is the following day when Doc tells Kaim of his plan to desert. I'm only telling this to you, Kaim, he says when they are patrolling the marketplace again. I know the punishment for desertion is harsh. I'm not sure I can make it all the way. And if I'm caught, I know I'll be court-martialed and executed. He has resigned himself to the possibility, he says, which is why he wants to make sure that Kaim knows the purpose of his desertion. I'm not betraying the country or the army. I just have to deliver this. In his open palm is the tablet that he was issued the day before. You didn't take it? Kaim asks, shocked. No, I fooled them, he chuckled immediately, turning serious again and closing his open hand. You're going to deliver this tablet? Uh-huh. Doc holds out his hand now, pointing towards the mountains south of the capital. At the foot of those mountains is the village where I was born. My wife and son are there. He's just 5 years old and he's been sickly since the day he was born. If he gets the disease, it's all over for him. So you're going to give him the medicine? Do you think it's wrong of me to do that? Transfixed by Doc's stare, Kaim is at a loss for words. Suddenly, the gentle Doc's eyes betray a murderous gleam. I may be a soldier dedicated to protecting the nation, but before that I am a father of a son. Before that I am a human being. I don't give a damn about the kingdom's ranking or love lives according to whether or not they are indispensable. I want to save the life of one human being who is indispensable to me. Doc's eyes take on added strength. They are bloodshot now. Clear proof of his resolve. If I leave now, I can be back in the barracks by roll call tomorrow morning. I'll leave home as soon as I give him the medicine, so I'm asking you to do me this one favor. Don't cause any commotion until then. No, of course not, but I'm not sure I can make it. But I am sure my boy will die if I just stay here. He'll pull through if he has the medicine. If there's even the slightest possibility of that, I have no choice. I have to take a chance. They'll kill you if they catch you. I don't care. I can die with pride, knowing I did it to save the life of the one person most important to me. What if you get sick? All I can do is leave it up to fate, Doc smiles. Human beings can't do anything about fate. But I do want to do everything I can as a human being. This is why Doc has revealed his plan to Kaim. One more thing, Kaim. If they kill me or if I get sick and die, I hope I can depend on you to visit my village sometime and tell my wife and son what happened. Make sure they know that I didn't desert because I got fed up with the army. I did it to save my son's life, which is something that is way more important to me than army rules and even more important than my own life. He will be satisfied as long as the message gets through, he says with a smile. Kaim has no way to reply to this. Not that Kaim fully accepts everything Doc has said to him. He is convinced not so much by the man's reasoning as he is overwhelmed by something that transcends reasoning, by the power of life. By the strength and the depth of Doc's desire to save a life precisely because it is something that he will eventually be cut off by death. I'm going to make a run for it while we're patrolling the marketplace. I'm asking you to look the other way. Tell them I disappeared when you took your eyes off me for a split second. Kaim can do nothing but accept Doc's plea in silence. He sees that deep in the hearts of those who love finite life is a place that cannot be entered by those who have been burdened irrevocably with life everlasting. The two men reach the far-off end of the marketplace. All right, then. Sorry to put you through this, Doc says. He turns to the exit and is about to plunge into the crowd when it happens. A child comes bounding out of the alleyway. It is the same shabbily dressed girl from the slums who ran past the men yesterday laughing. Today she is alone and crying her head off. She looks around with wide eyes when she spots Kaim and Doc in uniform. She comes running to them shouting, "Help! Help!" "What's the matter?" Doc asks. She takes his hand and leads him into the alleyway to prevent the surrounding people from hearing what she is about to tell them. "It's my brother," she blurts out. "He's sick. He's got a high fever and he's shaking all over. We've got to do something or he's going to die." Kaim and Doc look at each other. "How about your parents? Don't you have a father or mother to take care of him?" Kaim asks. "What parents?" the girl retorts tearfully. "They both died a long time ago. There's just me and my big brother. Oh, please help him, please." "But I was just," Doc mutters, fidgeting, ready to run. He looks at Kaim with pleading eyes. Kaim kneels down and looks the girl straight in the eye. "When did his fever start?" he asks. "Just a few minutes ago," she says. "We were leaving to pick up vegetable scraps, and he fell down." Only a little time has passed since the disease struck. You can still be saved by the medicine. But of course there is no medicine for slum children. Judging from the girl's wasted frame, her brother must also be eating poorly. The disease will almost surely ravage his malnourished body and snatch his life in a matter of hours. The girl will not come down with the disease, of course, but even if it cannot attack her directly, once she has lost the only other member of her family and has no one to take care of her, the tiny thing is bound to trace the same fatal path as her parents and brothers sooner or later. Please help my brother, please! She clings to Kaim and Doc, huge tears streaming down her cheeks. Kaim gives her a slight, silent nod. He rises slowly and reaches for a small leather pouch dangling from his sword hilt. Before he can lay hold of it, he hears Doc saying to the little girl, "Don't worry." Doc is holding out his hand to her, smiling gently. In the palm of his hand is a tablet. "Give this to your brother," Doc says. "There's still time to save him." The girl gives him a puzzled look and hesitates until he urges her, "Hurry, do it now!" She reaches for it uncertainly and takes it in hand with great care. "Hurry home now," Doc says with a smile for her. The girl dashes off. "Thank you, thank you, thank you!" Her shrill, tearful voice rings out as she disappears into the alleyway. "I'm glad it worked out like this, Kaim," Doc says with a shrug and a pained smile. "So now I won't be branded a deserter, and I won't have to give you anything to worry about. No. This is a good thing." He sounds as if he's trying to convince himself. He even nods deeply in agreement. Surely he cannot have done this without regrets, especially if his son at home should take sick and die. His voice is calm, however, as he says, "I couldn't help it. When I saw that little girl crying like that, I know my son would understand." He gives himself another deep nod. "Still, Doc..." "Never mind, don't say a thing." Doc cuts himself off and squints towards the alleyway. The girl ran down. There's absolutely no rank order to lives. The only thing that matters is to save a life when you see it with your own two eyes. "I know what you mean," says Kaim. "Just because I saved one slum kid's life, there's no guarantee he'll grow up to be a credit to the nation. Maybe all I succeeded in doing is prolonging the life of yet another drag on the state. Maybe after I get back to the barracks, I'll start thinking of other people I should have saved instead of him." "On the other hand, Kaim," he says, interrupting himself and turning to look at Kaim as he considers yet another possibility. "On the other hand, I look at it this way too. Maybe it is just a matter of innate human instinct to want to save the life before your eyes. Maybe we learn those other kinds of rankings later, for the nation or for the people, or even for my son. I may have failed as a soldier or as a father, but I think I did the right thing as a human being." Doc stops himself there and starts walking without waiting for Kaim to reply. He might be trying to hide his embarrassment at his own tortured reasoning. Seeing this, Kaim produces a laugh and calls out to Doc, as casually as he were suggesting they go to the tavern for drinks. "Hey, Doc, you forgot this." Now Kaim finishes what he interrupted before, reaching for the leather pouch tied to his sword hilt. From it he takes a small pill. "What do you mean?" "I didn't take it." Incapable of losing his life to a disease, Kaim has no use for the medicine to begin with. Of course, he has no intention of telling Doc about that. Even if he were to try telling him that he has lived 1,000 years, it's not likely that Doc would take him seriously. "You have a family, Doc. Lives you'd give anything to protect. That is a great thing." Now Kai pulls out his hand with the tablet in it, the way Doc did earlier to the girl. "I envy you," he says with a smile. "Wait, Kai, wait, hey, I mean you." "I don't have a family," he says, increasing the depth of his smile. Responding to Kaim's smile with its mixture of loneliness and warmth, Doc silently accepts the tablet. "Well now, would you look at that beautiful blue sky," says Kaim. "I think I'll just stand here a while, looking up at it, not thinking about anything at all. This might be a good time for you to run home to your son." Kaim does as he says, looking up at the sky. Before long he hears the sound of footsteps running across the stone pavement. Make sure you come back alive, Doc, Kaim mutters. Kaim strolls along, looking up at the blue sky until he disappears into the marketplace crowd. The end.
Oh, man, so many. So many. But we got through another one of them. Holy moly, guacamole. Alright, so with that said, keep in mind too, I know that Seth has 16 slots, but everybody gets one slot in, and the only reason that is because of the skills she has on. So anywho, oh man, we gotta call it. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. I'm your host, the RPG Guy. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/JackTardStudios for more live gaming action. And when we come back, we're gonna do some Gauntlet stuff that's here to do in town. Yay. We're gonna pick up some accessories, some new accessories while we're also here in town. We're also going to do a delivery side quest as well, just to help, with the balance of some stuff for later. And beyond that, I think that's a pretty darn good start. So again, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for stopping by, and we will see you guys next time.